So folks, the time has come once again where Ubuntu has dropped a new release, Ubuntu 19.04, and these are going to be my first impressions. I might loop back around and do a full review. I'm still weighing up as to whether I want to use this as my daily driver, at least for some extended testing, because really at the end of the day, we all know what Ubuntu looks like at this point. What I will say right out the gate is that Ubuntu is looking schmicker than ever. And with the improvements that have been done to GNOME 3.32.1, I believe, it's performing so much better than what it did in the Bionic Beaver release. And it's fair to say 18.10 as well. Let's dig into Ubuntu 19.04 Disco Dingo and find out what is going on here and my quick first impressions about this release-based distribution. Alright, so out of the gate, like I mentioned, so many of the improvements that are here in Ubuntu 19.04 all come from GNOME 3.32 and GNOME 3.32.1, I believe. So here's the thing. GNOME 3.32 is one of those releases that needed to happen, and it's needed to happen for a long time now. The sort of performance issues that people have had with GNOME have kind of put them off in a lot of ways. And it's an unfortunate situation to be stuck in when you're a distribution like Ubuntu that bases its main desktop environment on the GNOME environment. Now, here we are finally, and there's not really too much to complain about, at least from my perspective, with GNOME's performance nowadays. And for all of you wondering why I'm saying GNOME, it's a long-standing thing. I'm just kind of stuck in the habit of saying it now. But there is an explanation for it, and you can probably find it somewhere. But I just want to point out, first of all, in this system monitor here, that on a cold boot, GNOME uses about 800 meg of RAM. I've only given it 3 gig of RAM here in this virtual machine and given it 2 virtual CPUs to chew on. And it seems, while the CPU does chug away a little bit, it does seem significantly lighter on resources than what Ubuntu once was, especially 18.04 when that came out. Wow, it really churned away at the CPU and ate up RAM like you wouldn't believe. Now, so there's all of these performance enhancements which I can point to with GNOME. You notice it most often when you're juggling windows in and out of virtual workspaces. So when you hit the meta key, for example, and you're wanting to move windows around, they feel so much lighter and snappier. And the same can be said when you're shifting between workspaces. You just get so much smoother scrolling, smoother fades in and fades out. The application's smooth. The way that they fade in and out is so much smoother now. Really, that's what it boils down to. It's a very tangible, you can feel it, you can sense it, and that's something that needed to happen. Now, in terms of some other things that have been added to GNOME, really there's not a whole lot to write home about. This is definitely an iterative release, as I feel have been most Ubuntu releases as of late. But what I do want to point to is that sound now looks way more logical and gives you much easier control over your system, as well as the whole over-amplification thing that we're seeing everybody do now. The other thing that I really like is this applications menu. This is a new thing that they've introduced where you can control how well the app is integrated into the system, and you can also control permissions, whether you're wanting to decide which applications handle which things by default. As you can see, you've got Firefox here and all the files that it handles by default. But you can also do things like turn off notifications, and also when it comes to security, you also have a bit more of an idea of what the app is using if it is sandboxed. So if there is a Flatpak app installed in your system, you'll be able to see it show up here, and you'll be able to control the permissions for what that Flatpak accesses. Now, to my knowledge, it does not use, it doesn't integrate with Snap packages as of yet, and I feel like that should be something that the Ubuntu team should be getting onto pretty soon. Now, there's a couple of navigation gripes that I still want to pick when it comes to the way that Ubuntu handles things out of the box. And first of all, this is really something that is more common to GNOME than it is to unique to Ubuntu. But I do feel like the dock here I wish there was a way that you could use the icons here on the dock to maximize and minimize Windows simply by clicking on it, or I don't know, middle clicking on it or something like that. Because I just feel like it would be more intuitive to have a panel or a dock here where you can minimize things by, I don't know, double clicking on it or something. The other thing is that while we do have the 3 window controls up in here in the top, depending on what app you're using, some are integrated into the actual menu bar. As you can see with Nautilus, for example, you've got it integrated into the header bar, whereas other apps like Rhythmbox still have a traditional menu, and Firefox as well, and they have a ginormous amount of Chrome here that's just kind of left taking up screen real estate. Now on a big monitor you're not going to notice it, but on a smaller screen or a lower resolution screen, that extra few pixels is actually going to matter. The other thing that I'll mention on the plus side is that the theming with Ubuntu 19.04 finally feels complete. It feels coherent, it feels consistent across the entire system. The icons are popping, the theme is on point, and I love the contrast of the dark elements of the GNOME shell theme with the brighter elements of the icon set. And things like modal dialog boxes have a really nice color pop to them. Honestly, this is not something that I would have said probably since Ubuntu 10.04. I am actually really digging the default look and feel of Ubuntu, and everybody seems to love this wallpaper too, and I can see why. So honestly, there's so much stuff that Ubuntu is doing right here, but I guess in a lot of ways they have reason to be polishing up this surface level stuff, because from my vantage point anyway, it doesn't feel like Ubuntu is contributing an awful lot in unique Ubuntu features. Things like GS Connect out of the box have still been pushed to further releases or to future releases. Icons on the desktop is made possible with a GNOME extension to keep that desktop functionality around. It's not quite complete yet. You can't drag and drop files onto the desktop, so that is what it is. But honestly, there's some useful tweaks here. The way that they, for example, handle alt tabbing. So if I open up a few different applications here, as you can see, it is relatively snappy. Just want to point that out again. But by default, alt tab switches between windows, not between apps. So if you have let's say if you have LibreOffice open and you want to open a new document as well, now we have 2 documents open and you can switch between those 2 open documents. Whereas if you use Meta and tab, it will switch between the app, much more similar to how macOS does it. So in a way, I actually think this works really well, because if you're a Mac user, then you're used to seeing just the apps when you switch between using Command or Meta tab. Whereas if you're a Windows user, you're using Alt tab and you're used to seeing things Windows based. So I reckon it's a happy middle ground, a very, very discerning little tweak that Ubuntu have made by default there. There are other incremental improvements in terms of fractional scaling available for high pixel density displays. Now on the Xorg display manager, which is still the default, you only have the option of scaling by 100%, 200%, etc. But on the Wayland display manager, you can actually do fractional scaling, so 100, 125, that kind of thing. And on Xorg you can enable it, but it involves you jumping into dconf and changing a particular setting to enable that. So, and it's a bit experimental, hence why it's not included out of the box. There's some slightly more intelligent driver management when it comes to installing Ubuntu. You get that box to be able to install drivers and or media codecs, and checking that box now will actually automatically download and install AMD drivers or NVIDIA drivers or even VMware drivers for a virtual machine if that's what you're running it on. So it's great to see just one checkbox that finally gets done what could have been a hassle in the past. And they've also compensated for potential NVIDIA issues by including a no mode set boot option that's very accessible and easy to get to. It's hard for me to show you those things because I am in a virtual machine, but again, it's just nice to see Ubuntu listening to the community in that regard and kind of preempting any possible issues that they may have with including those drivers by default. Honestly, I feel like it's the right move. It's a simple checkbox that people can either get or ignore. and I think it just gives more power to the user, so I'm on board with that. There is still a few weirdities in terms of things like the calculator, and a few other little applications are packaged by default as snap packages, which I kind of get it, but at the same time, for me, snap packages still are very slow on their first launch, and to me, that is a technical thing that just needs to be ironed out. In terms of the app availability, honestly, I love how many apps are available and how much support snap packages seem to be getting. Honestly, it's great to see. But the technical limitations of Snap, I feel like they do need to be ironed out, and they are working on it. In terms of being able to package more and more apps into Snap packages, that's going great. And improvements on the first launch speed of Snap packages is meant to be being worked on at the moment. Overall, the Software Center is functional. It's basically just the GNOME default Software Center once again, and the way that it enables Snap packages and most of the repositories that you need means that you do have a huge amount of software available, both proprietary and open source, at your fingertips, and that is always a great sign especially for the new user. Two other things before we check out, and that is that Tracker is now included by default, so you get much more granular search when you're using the almighty search bar here at the top. Major boost for productivity. And the only other gripe that I would say is that I wish they would enable a spacebar preview function with Nautilus. You can install it by installing GNOME Sushi, but for me, the ability I use it like every single day, to be able to preview a particular file in Nautilus by just smacking the spacebar without having to open up a whole new app is a huge. It feels so much faster for me. Whether it actually is or not, who knows, but it feels faster. The other nice thing is that because we're using a more up-to-date version of Nautilus now, we do get starred files as well. Okay, that was a really quick blast through, but hopefully it gives you all you need to know to weigh up whether this is the release for you. For me, this is a no-brainer if you're sitting on a long-term support release and you don't mind sacrificing a bit of stability. In terms of how stable I found it, not a worry, but then again, I'm not running it as a daily driver yet. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in terms of stability over the long term. And if you are on a non-LTS release, then you've probably already upgraded and you're enjoying GNOME 3.32.1 in all its buttery smoothness. We'll see if we need to explore this distribution in a bit more depth in later times, but for right now, that'll do it from me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the very next video. Peace out.